What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news, some breaking news concerning Errol the Truth Spence and Danny Swift Garcia. They agree to fight on pay-per-view scheduled in November. Now, we don't have a date because of the COVID pandemic, but we do have a venue, okay? Now, the venue is supposed to be at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, though the ESPN News reports that Premier Boxing Champions, which will be promoting the event, of course, has placed holds on venues throughout the country because of the pandemic, okay? Now, arguably, Spence is one of the best fighters in the world, and we know that these guys, Danny Garcia, fought and lost twice. And both of his losses have been to close split decisions. Okay, he fought Keith Thurman and he fought Sean Porter, and he lost via split decision both times. So I don't think this will be an easy fight for him. Okay, Garcia was 33-0, and then he was beat by Thurman. Okay, again by split decision. Okay, now they say that Garcia, he had the WBA and the WBC world titles from 2012 and 14 after moving the welterweight. But here's the thing. Errol the True Spence of last year got into a wreck, okay? A lot of people would bet that Errol Spence is going to mop the floor with Danny Garcia, but now I'm not too sure. Me counterpunching these two guys fighting, like I told you, I think Errol Spence has to fight against the fact that this is experimental and ring rust, injury, and just stiff competition. Because again, he's fighting the guy or one of the guys that's the top welterweights, especially on that side of the street. The PBC, Uncle Al came through with this fight because Al Heyman knows at this point that he has to bring these good fights into play. Because if not, people are going to lose interest in boxing and everybody's going to run to UFC. We already have boxers on UFC games, okay? So that should tell you something about boxing. So I think Al wanted to get this fight done. It's been done. You got to take your hat off to Errol Spence for just taking this fight with no tune-up, because a lot of times anybody, and it would be reasonable, for him to take a tune-up. And not just go in there with someone like Danny Garcia with some Puerto Rican hammers from Philly when he fights and sticks stones and bottles in the streets of Philly and he knows how to punch, okay? You don't want to deal with that, but he's doing it anyway, and he's only going to get, if he beats Danny Garcia, it'll tell us two things. One, he's courageous. Two, he was hurt and he didn't care, okay? And he is a beast, okay? Now, I'm excited to see this, hear from this fight, because Errol Spence is a guy that's been wanting to fight the top competition in the welterweight division. Okay? My only problem with Errol Spence personally is I feel that he's a network hoarder, okay? He's too political when it comes to networks. You can tell it when he was at the Wilder and Fury fight. There was a lot of ESPN fighters who were there because Fury is, signed with Top Rank. And he looked like he was disgusted. I'm like, dude, it's not that serious. All the money is green. You know what I mean? So don't take it that way. You are a prize fighter. You're not a network. So it's unnecessary to dedicate yourself to a network. That's my only problem with him. Now, as far as him wanting to fight Keith Thurman ducked him for years. I know that backstory. He finally got the and he finally got the Sean Porter fight. He's now unified because he went overseas to really get his belt, his strap, when he fought Kell Brook. So, little backstory about Errol Spence. And in each of those times, he had to overcome. But he shows he's a tough kid. He's a big, strong southpaw welterweight. He reminds me of marvelous Marvin Hagler, and the way he commits to the body and his vicious attack, and he's relentless. So I am very interested to see what Danny Garcia and these guys can create with their two styles, because again, Danny Garcia is a guy, he places himself to punch. He is a hard hitter. I think he punches harder than Sean Porter, and Sean Porter gave Errol Spence problems, but Errol Spence kept coming. But with the wreck, again, I don't know how he will perform. And honestly, I don't think he knows. The only thing that he has to bank on is being conditioned and being in shape and focusing on the fight. and not really worry as much about it. So I think it's more mental than anything else. But if you have broken teeth and things like that, that could play a huge play into what happens when you get hit. Okay, so I'm really, because we don't know how damaging that wreck was. It was a miracle. Make no mistake about it. When the wreck happened, I wasn't concerned about him fighting. That would be selfish of me. I was concerned about his health. But now he's bounced back, no broken bones except the teeth. Now he's back on the prowl and he's ready to defend his titles. Okay, so hey, the fight's on. We don't know the date. We got the venue. We got the month. We got the fighters. So let's see if the fight happens the way it's supposed to. You guys tell me what you think about Errol the Truth Spence taking on Danny Swift Garcia. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunching. Peace.